we are diving into one of my favorite tools ever. It is n8n. n8n is a super powerful open source automation tool that helps you connect with different apps, move data automatically, and build smart workflows without writing any code. So it is a non-code AI tool to create automation. It's kind of like having your own personal digital assistant, one that never complains, sleeps. It works 24 by 7 with a high accuracy. So whether you are a developer looking to save time, or a manager who wants things to just run on their own, or someone who loves to explore like cool tech, so you're gonna love this. By the end of this video, you will know exactly how to design, test, and deploy your own automations like a pro. And in the end, there is a mini project which makes you practically how we can create an n8n workflow automation. All right, ready? Let's jump in to the agenda. Before we start building, let me give you a quick roadmap of what we are going to cover. First up, we will talk about what workflow automation actually is, why n8n is such a big deal when it comes to connecting your tools and saving your hours of every single week. Then we will get into core concepts like nodes, triggers, like how we can connect like nodes using like workflow, and we can create an overall workflow. Don't worry if you have ever heard this word before. We will break it down step by step. Next, we will explore what is APIs and webhooks. They might sound techy, but I will explain you them in plain English so that you will actually get it. What actually is API and how we can connect other apps to our workflow automation, and we can automate other apps also like Slack, OpenAI, and we can use large language models also like Gemini, OpenAI, ChatGPT with APIs. After that, we will move on to building strong workflows, including how to catch errors, debugging, and error handling. Then comes my favorite part, mastering workflow designs. Like we will look at some pro tips and tricks, how to make automation smoother, faster, and easier to scale. We will also check out our real world use cases, how businesses, creators use n8n to automate everyday stuff like their routines and everyday like using social media posts, content management, and creating reports and generating transcriptions. And finally, we will wrap up this with your first automation project. We will build a complete workflow together, you from start to finish, and by the end, you will be ready to create on your own automation workflow.
Now let's see what exactly is a workflow. It's just the step-by-step process that completes a task like ordering a pizza, choosing an item, then you will confirm order, then you will go to the payment gateway, then like it will come delivery, then we will give a feedback or a rating we will give. So this is all like a workflow. So in workflow automation, we have three steps. Manual, three types. So one is like a manual, like all steps done by the people. And next is semi-automated. That is a mix of peoples and tools. Like we will need to take people input also for going to the further automation. Then it's like fully automated. Tools do everything as per your rules, like based on a conditions. So in semi-automated, like you will need to have like approval request, and based on that it will automate. And next comes fully automated. That is like no need of any input from the user or else from the developer end. It will just take automation. Everything it will move from one workflow path to another workflow path based on like if else logic statement. So workflow automation basically converts your business logic into action. Like the software becomes your employee, so who follows your interactions exactly like every time, like 24 by 7. It will see for the triggers and it will move and it will follow you according to the rules. So let's say you want to automate your business process. So here are like five key steps to create a workflow automation. First, map your process. Write each step on a paper. Identify where time is wasted. So which process you want to automate. Then next, set goals like saving 2 hours daily or reducing errors by 50 percentage, or how efficiently you can want to achieve by using automation. Then you choose tools like Zapier, n8n, Make, and Microsoft Power Automate. These are like few tools, workflow automation tools, where we can use everything like to automate a process. Each app has its own benefits. So based on our goal or based on our process, Like we can choose tools based on it. Then next we will move to the implementing and testing. Always test on like small workflows first. Then we will like automate the bigger one. Then we will in the final step is like we will monitor and improve. Automation grows better with like data and the feedback. Then we will modify it and iterate and improve the based on like one-on-one feedback. So automation is not like set and forget like everything it will done. It's like fitness, like you keep in improving small things, then results compound over time. Like once the small workflow works, then you will add on to the next work which you can automate. Then next. So tools that make automation easy. These are like few tools, and we have other things also like Make and Power Automate also, which is Power Automate is by Microsoft. So these tools are like automation platforms where any one of the tool we can use. Even your WhatsApp business messages or Instagram DMs can be automated using this simple workflow automation. So you no need to be a tech genius to do this and all. Just a curious and consistency will be a lot of enough. You no need to do any coding also. It's a non-coding tool. So you just need to have some knowledge on how we can create. Using our whole course video, you can use. So here for our course, we are using n8n. So in other courses, you can see tutorials and using n8n, how we can create an workflow automation, how we can do mini projects, how we can create industry automations, we can visit from our course. Next, like these are the easiest areas to start with, like to do small projects, then you can go for like do for the real ones. Like in emails, we can do email confirmation, like automation, like email will be automatically confirmed and replied, and we can keep reminders also, and we can add newsletters and schedule things. In data, like we can add data entry, like we can create automatically data backups based on a time trigger or else based on some user input as a trigger. You will understand what actually trigger is. Like you will get on things like after this. Okay. So customer relationships, you can use like follow upping with the customers, and you can take reviews using automation. So almost all the things can be automated in customer relationships. In finances, like you can generate invoices automatically, payment reminder. So you may be seen in many shops like based on a payment, phone pay payment, like automatically the receipt and the bill order will be generated. So in the same way, try automating one simple thing like sending a daily summary email using like Google Sheets or using Google Sheets and n8n. For emails, you can use Gmail API. You will learn what actually API. API is basically application programming interface. You will get to know in our course. So once you do it, you will feel like you have superpowers. Then you can move to like bigger projects. Challenges in creating these workflows. These are the like four challenges. Like even automating one small task creates big impact. So start small, then you improve your skills, then add, you create a bigger workflow automations. Then you train your team. They should know why automation helps them and how you can integrate in your day-to-day life, and how you can teammates can interact with our automation workflow platform so that it will be integrated and will be automated. Like it will, we can create an efficiency by integrating with other departments also. So automation also needs maintenance. It's not like just we discussed it before. It's not like we just create it and forget it, or it will be automated. So we need to make it fit. We need to iterate the improvement by taking the feedback. Then we will add on things. Then we will note down feedback like where to be automated more, how it can be more efficient. Then we will, according to it, we will improve. Then new AI tools and launch every month. So we need to keep on improvement, and we should be staying updated. So the biggest people make is automating broken processes. So first fix your process, then automate. So it's not like how you do directly you jump onto the like doing automation things. So first you fix the process, then you plan as we discussed it before, plan, then set goals, then you go to creating a small workflow, then you can achieve greater workflow automation. The next, automation isn't just a tech trend; it's a mindset of working smart. You're not just a trend. So You need to work smart, you can save time, you can improve accuracy and unlock creativity. So you can save a lot of time by using automation. Start small, pick one small task for your project, or else you can refer our course video task. Try to do a mini project. Then you can try on your own like small projects. The goal is not to replace people, like it's to give them a super speed. Once you can't automate everything, like based on a process, you can just include automation in your process. So let's talk about some real world applications. Automation is everywhere. It's what makes work faster, smarter, and way more accurate. Actually, it works 24 by 7. So it helps operational efficiency. So these are like real world applications. Before we have discussed in which sectors it is used. Here we going to discuss the applications in the automation. So it helps in operational efficiency, meaning it removes those boring repetitive tasks so people can focus on real work like creative and innovative work. Then comes data synchronization. Automate, make sure every system has the same up-to-date information and instantly. Next is enhanced customer experience. Like when you get a quick replies or a personalized emails, yep, that's automation. You will automatically able to reply, and you can ask for a review. Based on a review, you can generate a review mark. Then you can analyze it and do analysis on the reviews. And finally comes marketing and sales funnels. It automatically manage leads. It's like when you do marketing, you will get to generate leads like based on who are interested in our product. That is called leads. So it automatically promotes ads and filters the leads, and you can follow up with those leads, and you can follow up with team handovers, and you can use it in hiring people for marketing. So basically, automation is like quiet worker behind some modern business successes. There are many businesses which use automation for efficiency. Now that we know where it's used, let understand like how it actually works. Let's dive into what actually automation is. So, as I said you before, like what is trigger, action sequence, data flow, and all. So now this may be looking somewhat techie. Let's understand. It's just using technology to do less tasks with less human effort. So we are going to follow this workflows, and we are going to use these technical terms, and we are going to build a workflow automation. First, a trigger happens, like receiving a mail or getting a feedback from a user or clicking a button or an update in a database. Then comes an action sequence, a series of steps that run automatically. So once a user or a developer or like whoever client hits the trigger, once the trigger is activated, then the actual action sequence will start. Once the action sequence is like a series of steps that run automatically, then the data flow keeps information like moving between apps, making sure everything connects like API integration and connecting with other apps like Slack and all. Then it finally results the logs. Results and logs is like everything it will record, like how many automations are done, and what are errors caused, and what is the flow of that individual automation. In short, a workflow is like a visual plan, like how a process moves from start to finish. And platforms like n8n let us build and see these workflows in easy drag and drop way. So as we discussed it before, like before going to like what actually APIs webhooks is, let's like end this agenda by like introducing a platform called n8n, which we are going to do a mini project with using n8n also, like a small project where you can get to learn how we can actually create a workflow automation practically. So, n8n is like a workflow automation tool which is open source. Like it uses node-based design, which means you can connect with actions like a puzzle pieces, like where to go after what step, and like it's like writing conditions, like connecting with other apps. So it is open source. Like you may be asking, like it is subscription, but if we can use self-hosting, then n8n is free actually. So the next, we can use self-hosting, meaning you can run it on your own server, or else we can run it on our own computer. Okay, so that no data leaks will be there. So full of privacy, we can use this automation platform. And lastly, it's powerful with data. It can handle complex data transformations that like most other tools like struggle with. So n8n is like a standard workflow automation platform. So n8n isn't just another automation tool. It's like flexible, developer-friendly platform that grows with your needs. Okay, so and here where it gets really interesting. That is like for all this automation to happen, n8n heavily relies on APIs and webhooks. The way apps talk to each other, send information, and trigger workflow automation. In next part, we will break down exactly what APIs and webhooks are and how they make automation work behind the scenes. Let's talk about something every automation tool uses, that is APIs and webhooks. Okay, API means application programming interface. Okay. So think of them like as the way apps talk to each other. Without them, automation couldn't be like possible. So if we want to integrate any LLM like ChatGPT, Gemini, if you want to use Slack, Gmail, or you want to use Google Maps, if you want to use for WhatsApp, you need to take WhatsApp API. If you want to use Instagram, Instagram API. So it our automation workflow can be interact with other apps, third-party apps like WhatsApp, Messenger, Slack. Okay, normal call, we can use create voice agents. So for any other automations like in industries, if we they have their own software. So for everything, application programming interface is used. So let's see, here is our roadmap for this part. Like we will learn what an API is and its definition and components of API, the parts of requests and responses, like how it is going to handle and what types of requests are there and how we can check the responses, what types of errors we will get, like 402 error means what, 500 error means what. And then we will dive into webhooks, how they send data automatically between systems. It is like opening a way for the automation, like to see how actually data moves around between the apps and how our automation workflow will be able to interact with the other apps and perform automation. Okay. So what is an API? Imagine a restaurant. You went into the restaurant and the menu is like what you can order, the list of the items you have. And the kitchen is where like food can be made like from the server end. So waiter can be considered as an API. So you will select from item and you will go and tell to the waiter or an API we can tell like I want this item or else something items which are available in the menu. Like but in API case, you can have four requests which you will be learning later, like get, post. So using this, these are like menu items. Like you can tell to the API that hey, perform this post method, so that that method will be tell to the API and API will be performing on the third party app, whether to update, post, okay, get. So these are like methods are like menu items. You tell the waiter like what you want. The API passes your request to the kitchen and then brings back the food. Kitchen is like a third party app like messengers or other WhatsApp, Instagram and all. Formally, an API is like application programming interface is a way to expose a service so other programs can use it. Developers write programs that talk to APIs to get data, send data, or trigger actions. But in our case, we are going to learn how to use n8n platform to avoid coding. Even there is a fast API, programming languages. It is totally based on API, how the backend can be written and interacted with the front end and the database. Okay, so backend programming language front end also uses a similar coding, so that if someone writes code in a fast API, so that front end can be interacted with the other applications, or else. It can just like how our n8n is be used to write like to communicate with the API, we will write programs to interact with an API. So let's come to components of a request. There are total four requests. When you send a request to an API, like these are the four main parts: URL, method, header, and body. So URL is like where you are sending to, like what are the kitchen, like where is the path you need to communicate with. Method is like I said you, like menu items like get, post. Okay. So next it comes header, extra info like authentication, whether it requires any permission or not. Body is like optional, like it's like a labeling, like any data you want to send through the API. Like either you can send it or not, but mostly you can just perform actions like communication. For updations and all, you need to send like body, like what type of update you want to do. Think of it like giving a detailed order to the waiter, like in your restaurant, to communicate with the kitchen. Okay. So next comes in discuss, if we want to detail about this request, we are going to discuss about the URL. URL is just the address. The full form is like universal resource locator. Okay. So just like how here youtube.com, Google Tech Files, like in this everything scheme, host is like it's a domain. As we, everybody knows, domain, youtube.com, google.com are like domains. That is called host. Okay. So our hosting there, like we will be having an hosting a service, okay, hosting database, or else we can use VPS server also to connect with the domain. So that the scheme is like a protocol. Which protocol? HTTPS is the one protocol, and HTTP is one protocol. Okay, so using that protocol, our domain will be communicating. So at the rate is like is a path how like where the API should be communicated with. It can't just directly communicate with the domain always to the home, right? So in the domain where our API should be communicated. Okay. So universal resource locator is like exactly a path. Okay. It could be a page, a PDF, or a website, image, or some data on a server also. Okay. Think of it like telling a waiter exactly which dish you want from the menu, like where, like what specification you want. Okay. It points to the exact location of what you need. But pointing the dish is not enough, right? So here comes the method, like what way to be prepared. Okay. That is called like methods. That, as we have said, there are like methods: get, post, delete, put. Okay. So now that we know you are like where to communicate to API, like how, like which method it use. The method tells the server like what action we want to perform at the URL. Okay. So most common ones are like get and post. Get is like in the name itself, it's the get to receive information. Post is to send information. Okay. Other less common use like delete, put, and patch. Patch is like mostly it won't be used. In fast API also, like these four are available: get, post, and delete and put. Okay. So like to update, like we will use put. Next, we will have a header. The header gives you like more detail to the request, like what's location and language and device type and all. Okay. Like header can be written in like a JSON format. It is like one format used to like write and describe about the API. The body only appears for post requests, like it contains the actual data like you want to send. For example, it forms submits like your info, first name, last name, so email. Look, body is basically the payload of your request, the content you are delivering to the server. Okay. Next is credentials. Now servers need to know if you are allowed to make a request. That's where credentials come, like whether with what user access shall I go. So using query parameters, like we can give authentication. Like most APIs requires authentication because it is like mostly private API. API should are very private actually, so that if we increase the usage, the server cost will like their third-party servers will be more used. So even there is a incident in DeepSeek and DeepSeek only. So they took ChatGPT's LLM and they trained their own model. Okay, so that is called like distillation, like which is illegal. So they perform distillation and they trained using like big large language model to a small large language model. Okay, so this is called distillation. When you train a small language model, large language LLM, with a large LLM without permission. See, if you want to transfer the knowledge to the small LLM, if it is okay, you can. But according to the ChatGPT permissions, it was not there, but still they have done. It's an illegal. So we can use APIs to train models, like to communicate one LLM to the another LLM also. Let's see like components of the response. Once a request is sent, the server response. A response has like three parts: status code, header, and body. Okay. Status code like indicates success or error of the request. As I said, you may see in HTTP requests or HTTPs like 500 error the website, or else you can see most is like 402 error. I think so. Like most famous 404 actually, 40 not found error, 200. If everything is 200, you won't be seen, because if the error code, the status code is 200, then everything will be worked. So mostly you would be seeing 404, like not found, the resource doesn't exist, right? And 500 is like internal server. No, you will be seeing later. So these are like status codes. Status code will be a three-digit number which indicates the request feedback, like how, whether it's successful, unsuccessful, why it is not unsuccessful, sorry, why it's not successful. Okay, so 200 is like okay, success, like the response is received, everything is gone very smooth, so it will receive 200 status code. Then next 401 unauthorized, like whether the this thing you have permission or not. If you don't have any permission in the authentication step, then you will get 401 error. 404 is like, as we have discussed, not found, like the resource you want to see, or else in a server what file you are going to search doesn't exist, then you will get 404 error. Then 500 is like internal server error. Mostly you will be getting with the databases, like when you have connection with the databases, or you are unable to locate the database, then you will get internal server error like 500. These codes are like used very in programmatically. In n8n also, you can able to see these status codes so that you can understand the process of workflow. Next is headers. The header gives you more detailed context to the request, like the this gives how more details about it actually. Content length, content type, and when it is going to expire. Like expires is like how long the data is valid. Content type means the format of the data, like in what format it is. Content length, how big the data is. Okay, so think of it as a server giving you the label of the package, like instructions, or else you can call it as a label, like what specifications or what is in it, what's really in the package. Okay, if you like, it's like a brief information. Okay, if you want to know what exactly inside the box, then it is a body. Okay, briefly, if you want to know like instructions type of or a labeling, you can call it as a header. Body is like exactly like what you want to know. It will be written in like HTML, JSON, and like raw data, images, files also. So the header tells you about the package, like your body is the like package itself. Okay. Now that we understood requests and responses, let's look at something slightly different but very powerful actually. That is webhooks. Okay. Imagine you are at a home, waiting for your friends. Normally, you might keep looking out the window, like to see if they have arrived or not. That's like polling in apps, constantly asking, "Did anything happen yet?" So you will receive instant feedback. So webhooks is like whether taking responses over time to time. Instant, like in case of like you see every time window, you see whether you are waiting for friends or not. Instead, wouldn't it be better if you friends just rang the doorbell when they arrive? That's exactly how webhooks work. They notify your application immediately when something happens. No more constantly checking out from the window, like whether it's happening or not. You just need to notify your application. Like once the webhook is work, then it will notify your application. Like it's like a doorbell. Okay. This makes automation faster and efficient. Speaking of automation, let's move to building blocks of workflows. This is actually the main game starts actually. Nodes. Okay, nodes in automation. Understanding node structure and actions. Nodes are the heart of our workflow automation. Okay, this is where we have more data, like even APIs and webhooks are integrated. Like if you ChatGPT, other apps, all will be considered as a nodes. Like nodes will be connected to the paths, like one node to another node based on some conditions. Okay, they help us build, manage, and visualize how tasks are connected and executed. Understanding nodes is like key to mastering the automation platform like n8n. Okay, so you need understanding nodes is very essential for this workflow automation course. So let's understand what actually is a node. A node is a single block of single building block in a workflow. Like combining all the nodes will make you a workflow automation. There are like each node can like process data, transform data, send data somewhere else. It can communicate with one point to another thing. So entry point will be there, function how it can process, and then exit point will be there. Let's see types of nodes. Okay, entry point, function, exit point we have seen, right? Now we will move to types of nodes. So these are like six types. Triggers. Start triggers is like um, I explained you later. I will explain you again. Okay, so in the nodes you can able to see triggers. These are like technical terms, nodes, triggers, and all. So you imagine like nodes is like a how to tell, like a starting building block. Okay, you are going to build a building. Look, it's like trigger is like gate. So you will go through it. Like it's like when the gate is open, like you will be going through the whole. You can roam around whole building. So triggers is like start workflows based on some event. Like let us imagine some mail has received, so that to reply back is like a building block we will build. But to come receive, like when your workflow to be started, that is called like triggers. Okay. So trigger is like start workflows based on events. The next action in app, like do operation inside apps, like what app operations you want to perform. Next is data transformation. Change or reformatting the data is like data transformation. Flow nodes like control logic, if else statements like direction and all is considered as a flow nodes. The next comes files. To manage files, we will use this type of nodes. And next comes advanced nodes like custom or specialized nodes. Like for specialized tasks, we will use these advanced nodes. Each type will help you like one workflow run smoothly and logically. Let's see node actions and its controls. Every node has action and controls to manage it. So to run it immediately, we will use execute node. So to do some configurations or else parameters, we will use open settings. Or else if you want to copy or else you want to work with some data, like you want to do a duplicate or a backup, then we will use duplicate node. So there is rename node also. In the name itself, it's there. We can update the node labels of the node. Okay, for more clarity and to once you keep labeling, then you will get to know from what building block to what building block you want to move. Then next comes deactivated node. Deactivate node. Pause without deleting. Okay, so it's not like pausing. We will directly delete. Like we will start deactivate the node. Okay, next is like pin, copy, and delete. Like organizing your workflow. Like these pin, copy, and delete will be useful. Okay, these make building and managing workflows like intuitive. Okay, next is node parameters. Yeah, parameters. Like each node also relies on parameters like how to connect, how to authenticate, how to execute. So these parameters help the nodes to as a, like add-ons, like how these are usually instructions to make the node function. Like parameters are basically the instructions that make a node like function correctly, like following those parameters specifically. Node settings configure your node. Just how we saw like node parameters, like how we are going to connect, like using specifications. This is like a settings, settings, right? So finally, node settings give three key ways to control your workflow: add reminders and documentation for the team for nodes. Okay. So next, visual settings, adjusting color, size, appearance to make workflows clear. Okay. Next is execution settings, control timing, okay, retries and error handling. So this is and all called execution settings. With this, you can customize every node to behave exactly how you want. So you can make it using settings. You can make it more customizable. Okay, but nodes don't work alone like this. They often need to connect to external apps and services. For that, we use credentials for that authentication, which securely store authentication information and manage access. So we will deep dive into it. Yeah. Understanding credentials. In workflows, credentials are like keys to let your node connect securely to external app and services. Okay. They are required for authentication. They save and they perform it using those credentials. Okay. So once you use authentication, like your connections are safe. Nobody can interrupt or get hacked. Like for security purpose, stored at the instance level. So management is centralized. Okay. And it can be shared with permissions, allowing team members controlled access. So it's not like using credentials. Not everyone have credentials can do the same work. We can manage the permissions also. Credentials are like essential thing, but we also need to see the data flow through nodes, which brings us the data views. That's we are going to see next. Data views, multiple perspectives. Nodes show process data in three ways: table view, JSON view, and schema view. In n8n, we can see the data. Like on the top, you can see the options whether you want to see the data in a table view, JSON view, or a schema view. JSON is like a data format type. Schema is like a database, SQL database uses. Like it shows the relationships, data types. These perspective like helps us to understand exactly like what each node is doing and how it performing. Then comes credentials. See, this is how. So, so this is like JSON format, how the data will be used. This is like schema view. We can drag and drop and use it as a parameters. Schema view is useful actually. So table view is like just like SQL. Like we can just make it see like SQL in a table format with rows, headers, okay, with column wise. Let's talk about some key takeaways. Remember these principles, okay? Like nodes are core units. Okay, they process and transform data. It's like a foundation. Okay, next is nodes are highly configurable. It's like parameters, settings. Like we can very much make it personalized and customized. Okay, flexible with data viewing. As we have discussed, we have three types: table, schema, and JSON. Okay, so these data types also we can use. And next is secure integration. We have talked about credentials. Okay, how we can use authentication and we can manage access also, and we can manage whose permission, and we can manage between teammates, and we can use credentials for security purpose. So with this foundation, we will just deep dive into the next topic, that is core data concepts. Okay, understanding like JSON, lists, and data in workflows. Okay, to master workflows, we need to understand the main data structures: JSON, lists, and data items. These structures allows nodes to communicate and transfer data effectively. Foundation like JSON objects and lists are like we will discuss later in detail. We will talk you. Next slide, I thought we kept two slides. Okay. Workflows mainly use like JSON objects, like key value pairs. See, JSON is like key value pairs, like it will have some key and its pair. So that it's like a dictionaries in Python, we can tell. Okay, so list is like it will have ordered collections, like uh, it's like an array, one after another. We will store in list, like all the fruits under one tree. We will keep an everything in one list. So, uh, JavaScript object notation, okay, JSON. JSON is like a data format, as we have discussed. JSON objects can be nested, like user name, like I told, right? It is key value pairs. Even most embedded systems use JSON format for digital communication. Here we can see it's a universal format for digital communication in embedded systems and in many programming languages. In if you want to transfer data from one server to another server, we mostly use JSON if possible. Okay, like it's like a primary data format to transfer data. Next is JSON organizing complex data, JSON nesting. It is an interesting topic actually. Uh, JSON nesting allows logical grouping of related information, like without flattening, with perfect for a real world complex data. Okay, like it will group all the things in with a key value pair format, like that's called JSON format. Next is accessing nested JSON. Like we use dot notation to reach nested values. Top level like user name, user dot name. Then it will point out to the alias. Okay, that is name. So next is like nested level. That is like user dot contact email returns like mail. So everything like it points out like dot notation expressions chain multiple levels for dynamic access. Okay, this is like key for extracting and transforming data into the nodes. Next is list. A list is an ordered collection of objects or values. It can contain like same type or mixed types. Like we can use here we can see numbers, various types of data we can use. Like 3, 4 is a numerical data. This is like variable. So we can use both mixed data types. So lists of JSON objects map directly to tables. Okay, so we can directly transfer from JSON to tables. Okay, table to schema like in n8n it's available. So the key data terminology is like uh, item will be there. Item collection and fields. In field, the collection types of collection like various collections will be there. In the collection contains items. So let's see how nodes process items and data. Nodes take input items, transform or filter them, and produce output items. Okay, so input node, transform node, and then it will go to output node. This ensures like data integrity and predictable workflow behavior. So we can build blocks accordingly. Execution schema and expressions. Finally, we saw right nodes follow an execution schema. Like so, we see like how data will be there in how it will follow the execution process. First, it's like items move from node to node, right? That is like data flow. Okay. Next is like item processing. Each item flows the schema, like how it will follow. Okay, what how it will be processing like one node to another node like based on what parameters. Next is like data consistency, ensures correct types and structure, like, whether it's in a correct format or not. Then is like expression power, combine text variables and code for custom transformations. So now let's step back and take a like bigger picture, like how all these nodes, triggers, connections, and form an entire workflows. Okay, in automation system, we can just take a word like everything will be covered under one umbrella. That is like workflow. Okay, so using nodes, triggers, connections, this data flow and types of data. JSON, everything what we are going to learn in this course. Like now we are going to see how the workflow automation overview will be, and we are going to build a workflow. Okay, so workflows, let us build, configure, and manage process by like connecting nodes, triggers, and branching the logic. Think of it like a orchestrating. In the starting, I told you, right? Orchestrating a whole process automatically step by step. Okay, it will tell. See here in the example, we can see where this is like a trigger. Okay, when clicking, execute the workflow. So when a user clicks, like the whole process, this everything will be executed. So Google Sheets is like a one node. In Google Sheet, we can add a Google Sheets API. Okay, so which Gmail account API we need to integrate. Okay, here are like names and tags. This is like a workflow name. Like we can keep anything. It is like activation. I told you before, like if it's in local, it's free. So it's in online. So if we need to activate, we can share the workflow with many others. Even we have a n8n library, like we consist some thousands of workflow automations. Like if you want, like you can use it. So this is like history. This is like settings button. Okay, we are going to once the practical course in the end, while we're doing many project also, like I will explain you once like what are the details again, opening a practical video. This is like a workflow and options. These are like nodes. Okay, once you click execute workflow, then also it will execute as a thing. Okay, let's see. We have seen this already, right? The nodes, triggers, and branches. So here I will explain you branches. See, this is called branches, okay? Connecting from node, node to process. And if suppose if we click this plus button, we can add some branching if else statement. Okay. So nodes I have explained you. Trigger will be at the starting. Okay. This is like a workflow dashboard. How everything will be worked. Okay. So to track all the workflows, we will use ownership tracking also. We can make like who is responsible for the and we can add tags also. Then we can see when is it the workflow is last updated. Just I told you, workflow is not just like we will just create it and leave. So we need to like once we create, then we need to check and then we need to go on update it based on a feedback, based on it like improvement. If you want to include any other process, you need to like use it. Okay, so you will go on improve it. So here are like workflow configuration and settings. Okay, you can customize workflows with settings like execution policies, notification, timeouts, like when is updated, access controls. So settings ensure like workflows run exactly as we predict. So building workflow connections. As we have discussed, like nodes connect through input and output ports, creating the flow of the data and the logic. So each connection represents a step in your process, ensuring information moves predictably, like however we build blocks. So we already told like it's like a green light, just like a traffic signal. It's like a green light to so that it tells you, hey, you can start now on. So it activates the workflow. Only responds to the events like scheduled items and incoming data, user actions like clicking buttons. So these are like webhook. So once this is like a trigger symbol, okay, the thunder symbol. So when user clicks or a scheduled trigger, like at a certain time, the trigger will be automated. Stripe is like using Stripe, we can just automate it. Webhook, okay, connecting nodes in your workflow. After the trigger, nodes are like linked together. Connections carry like data and control flow. See, like from here to here, here Google Sheets is there, then edit field. So one after the other, each process. This is like filtering. Okay, dashboard. Once we click the node, then we can able to see like this. So, but sometimes a workflow needs to be make decisions or different paths, right? So here comes logical branching or branching the logic. Okay, so we need to comes how allowing your automation to adapt intelligently, like based on some decision, like if else or else, based on some conditions. Like we can keep like if it is greater than certain value, you go this path. Less than this, you go. We can actually here it's important. Why? Because we can use direct business rules in branching logic, so that instead of human can tell like this is the this follows this rule, this follows this rule, automated it will be, everything will be automated. Like, if it follows this rule, then it will move to that path, push to the another node. See, this is called like condition. If name is Emily, if it is true, then it will go to Slack and it will post message. If it is false, then it will go to Gmail. Okay, it's like if else, like branching. Branch outputs like two output lines equals to two output items. Okay, so if it goes to this, it is like the data. If it goes to this, it is that, it is like a figure data. Here it is blurred, but you can able to see in n8n more clearly in a practical way. So let's see how we can use nodes for automation, like directly diving into the robust workflows. Okay. So to build powerful workflows, we will use focus on key functional nodes like that manage data and integration and triggers. Like these nodes will help developers like uh, design efficient and flexible automation pipeline. Okay, so here comes like three things. Okay, like few node types like which is very useful actually. So data manipulation nodes is like one type, aggregation nodes and trigger nodes. Trigger nodes, like it is easy, so we will discuss that first. So start workflows from external events. It's like webhook. Okay, so webhook and Stripe. Okay, so this is like from external events that these workflows will start. So these are called like trigger nodes. Okay, then next comes aggregation nodes. So aggregation in like in aggregation, anybody like in the name itself they would have known. That is like combining or summarizing data streams. Okay, data manipulation nodes is like performing like various data actions like modifying or structuring the data, like edit fields. Okay, so this is called data manipulation nodes. So let's see in detail like what actually like what types and how many data manipulation contains. The edit field node is fundamentally for transforming data items mid workflow. It allows granular control over the data structure and content flowing through your pipeline. So add data is like appending new fields, like adding the new fields. Formatting means formatting, like you would have no in normal maths and all. That is like to clean, convert, and restructure. Okay, formatting is like rebuilding, like furnishing type. Okay, reduce data is like removing unnecessary fields, like keeping only like what is useful. Rest and all to reduce data, like we will remove data. Example like keep only set to filter down to essential fields. Yeah, so that like it's like keeping a filter down. Like we will use edit. Okay, so next we go to data aggregation. Yeah, the aggregation node combines multiple items into like a single output, removing duplicates. Okay, summarizing, like calculating the sum, average, and count. And next, like split out, like reverse aggregation if needed. Like if it split out is like whatever the order is there, like it will be reversed. Okay, reversely it will combine. Okay, so next comes limit. Limit control how many items pass through. So this limit is like mostly like useful. Like I use it in many projects. So limit is like when you use this, it's like if suppose many database will be there, right? It will be stored on everything. So when a user sends, only to take first data, okay, to limit only one. So it will take only one. If you want to send two, three, then it will limit. Limit is like a gate which gives a ray. How to tell? data, number of data, so that how many items can pass through will be set out. This helps in this all helps in data aggregation will be for complex and large data strips efficiently. Like we will use this data aggregation. Next is trigger node. So trigger node is like webhooks. We have told already, like we have discussed in total about webhooks. So the webhook node acts like an API endpoint. It triggers like based on external HTTP request, like get or post. This will be get triggered. Like it uses incoming data as a first workflow item, then the whole building blocks we have there, right? Nodes. So that will be started. Next is it is ideal for real-time integrations like alerts or form submissions. Okay, in simple webhooks, you imagine your workflow is listening to the outside world. So webhooks is just we listen the like one story, right? Like doorbell. So it's it will always whenever somebody calls or it's doorbell from outside, we can able to get an notification kind of in the inside. So when a user clicks outside, then inside it will trigger and the whole automation process will be started. Okay. Next comes mastering workflow automation. Here in this we will see mainly error handling and execution logs. Okay. So to be fully confident, you need to understand this execution logs and error handling. It may be like optional, but you should master n8n. Like these are required, mainly error handling actually. So logs will give you visibility, like how workflows run and how you can see, where issues occur, like how you can see. Then error uses how the error can be resolved. Okay, let's dive into the next topic, that is execution logs, your workflows black box. So you would have know about black box, right? It gives you code to run. So let's talk about like black box of the workflow. Okay, so that is execution logs. These logs record everything that happens. Logs is like you know about logs, right? Like call logs in simple. Okay, so these logs record everything that happens inside your automation. Like from if suppose one user is there, if he clicked the trigger and stopped in hard node because of some authentication error, that will be recorded. And next, so as I said you in the start, what to take some feedback and based on the data, then we will iterate the and update the automation workflow. So these logs are very useful. Based on these logs, you can get to see like where users are facing or else where automation is stopping and how many errors we got and how you can handle those errors and how you can update the workflow for efficient performance and how you can save more time and how you can extend your automation. Okay, so these logs help you to debug actually. So, all right, now let's talk about the this thing, the historical record of the execution logs. Okay, a detailed history. The execution logs provides a complete history of your previous workflow, just like I told. So it tracks all the default also manual execution and helps in identifying the patterns in failures and bottlenecks. See, this is most important actually. When we can identify the error, whether where it's occurring and where failures are happening, we will improve it, or else we will use some error handling methods. So just like I told you in the last one, that is like debugging. So here where things get interesting actually. The execution history is your like quick debugging tool. It shows the final state of every node after a workflow runs, whether it succeeded or failed. So if you create automation using programming, you would require code to debug actually. That's very hard. But here debugging becomes somewhat easy. Like uh, find bugs by checking which node failed and or which behaved unexpectedly. and what is the behavior of the node or a response of the node, and what is the status code of the according to the API request. Okay, and fix it and inspect by looking into the data. Like we can see what actually happened at that time, and verifying the workflows to confirm like everything ran smoothly or after updates or what, or whether any more improvements to be needed. Like it's like a feedback. But what if you want to dig even deeper? So let's go to next slide, like which is a final result. I think. Yeah, node execution details. Okay, granular data tracing. Okay, so double clicking on an individual node provides the granular details necessary for debugging data. So for debugging data, we need to see input and output data. Like it's like JSON payload. Like how to tell whether the data has came inside or whether it's passed to the next node or not. So in the data tracing, you can use node execution details like whether it has passed from limit 1 to 3, or else the data is inefficient, like how to say, unsuitable data, or else it has inputted and it doesn't suits, or else like you can see exactly like how the data, you can trace the data. Okay, and next, if the node failed, the logs clearly show the specific. So if nodes are there, see, failed API call is like one example, invalid data format is like another example. So let's talk about, now that you have seen like how we will trace data, like whatever where the node is specifically went wrong, and you will get the whole data to debug. Okay, so you can exactly understand where the error is occurring. So you can trace. Now let's start like how we can handle errors. So error handling is like a very good topic. So if you want to master n8n, you should require actually. So in automation, like failure is very normal. Okay, it's not like in the start itself you will build a perfectly working automation platform. So failure is normal. So error handling is like how we prepare for those failures. Okay, catch them clearly and like respond properly in a way so that another time after the improvement or an update, the error shouldn't be there. Okay, think of it as like a safety net for your workflows, like ready to take action when something goes wrong. Okay, if in case like we saw like possible error occurring, so we will use some error handling so that in case if that error according to the data has occurred again, then it will go through the path of the error handling. So let's see how we can implement error handling workflows. That's where error workflows come in. They automatically, just like how I told you, there will be passing to, if error has occurred, it will pass through the error handling workflows. They automatically trigger when something goes wrong, sending alerts, logging the issue, or even trying the process. Okay, so you can customize these in your settings like to match workflow needs. So once the error comes, that will be acting as a trigger. If suppose one uh, let's take example of, we are having one error called authentication error. So to handle this error, we need, when authentication error comes, it should go to the it should mail to a person like you are getting an authentication error, so have some good credentials or correct credentials or recheck the credentials. So we will use this as a trigger, and we will send a mail to the user like this is the thing, so you should use it correct credentials, so your authentication error will not be repeated next time in a next workflow automation. Okay, and you can customize this in your like totally like however you want, just like a normal workflow, but it's like we are creating a workflow by keeping error as a trigger. That's called error handling workflows. Okay, but even with error handling in place, we still need to understand and fix like what causes the problem, and that's where debugging comes into play. Okay, so debugging is like we need to understand how and where the error is. Okay, in the automation, like in the whole node, like we are able to trace, but still debugging place. It's like how how to tell, like debugging is totally on understanding the error. Yeah. Okay, debugging. So, see, troubleshooting, the main thing, okay, a practical guide to troubleshooting and resolving workflow execution and errors efficiently. So, debugging simply means like finding and fixing problems in your workflow, okay? It's like a step-by-step process of identifying where things went wrong, analyzing and tracing the data, and next applying the right fix, okay, suitable thing. Think of it like it's being like a detective, like based on some clues and the data we have, we will understand where the error is and we will find some patterns. And after analyzing, we will resolve those errors. Then common causes of workflow failures. These are like few common causes. Okay, so based on this, like we will discuss one after the other so that you will understand workflow failures so that you can create a workflow, error workflows before itself, before occurring, so that you no need to add an after an updations and improvement. Okay, most workflow like errors fail in like configuration errors. Maybe configuration is like a setup, like incorrect settings or invalid parameters. Okay, so we will be taking input as a one parameter, but user will be passing in another format. So in automation, human involvement, manual involvement will not be there. So it's like a parameter invalid is like a common error. So uh, this automation workflow will be automatically executed when triggered, but it doesn't check whether which data type it is, or it will not warn the user like you invalid the wrong data. So it will just result in a fail. So we need to add another error workflow for this to make this workflow failure efficient, and you need to inform the user that invalid parameter or some required fields are missing. So user will again start the workflow automation with the correct details. Next is service unavailability. Some APIs or external systems like just aren't responding. So some APIs may be down, or else some protocols will not be working. Okay, some servers may be down, or else sometimes API there are many examples actually. In recent times, ChatGPT APIs has actually got down. So when API got down, our automation platform cannot be interacting with the this thing server. Okay, this can be considered as a this error. Error 404 is not found, right? Okay, so it's like when server is not responding, internal 500 error actually. When server is not responding, so it will repeat that status code. Then next comes data format mismatches. In the same, just like on top invalid parameter, it's like when the input data format and expected format causing error, then it will like validation failures will be there. It will be passing through. Then missing data. Here we have discussed missing required fields. So when they pass it a null or empty, then it will be like unable to process or unable to go to the next step. So knowing this helps you like fix problems much easier. Like you will be designing before itself, like how to handle the possible errors. You can just use your experience and your knowledge to like predict which will be possible errors, and you can write workflows. Okay. Debug in editor. Yeah. So in editor field, like this is where debugging gets hands-on. Okay, you can pin execution data from a failure run, like right into the editor. No guessing. So then you see the real data that caused the issue. Edit your workflow and test it instantly. Once fixed, validate the change by running it again. Then you can update automatically. Okay, like first is like pinning the execution data. Then you will move, identify the problem, like what actually it is. Then you will edit and test. Okay, how where the error actually is, what type of data it is expecting, and what type of error you got. Then you will resolve the error and you will validate and fix, and you will run again the workflow. This powerful feature eliminates guesswork by letting you work with the exact data that triggered the failure, making debugging significantly faster and more accurate. So, retrying failed executions. After you have fixed errors in your workflow, you can retry failed executions to ensure like your fixes actually work. You can either retry the whole workflow with the original data, or else you can copy to the editor to start from the beginning to process upstream, so that you can check again and you can debug. Yeah, these are like two failed executions. Okay. Next is manual output editing. Once you have retired a workflow, sometimes you want to test specific scenarios like without waiting for real triggers. Okay, so the manual output editing features lets you like override the node output to like simulate the different data. Okay, simulate is like moving different data. Okay, once you override a node output, then to the next node it will give different data. So testing edge cases for unusual or problematic inputs. And next it comes retry with corrections directly from the node, like from the node to node, like it will retry using the corrected data. This gives you like precise control over workflow execution, and it is very great for validating transformations or quickly recovering, or if you want to iterate and bring improvement as soon as possible. So this feature gives you precise control over workflow execution, making it invaluable for testing complex scenarios. Okay. And suppose like while editing outputs is powerful because we also need to way to track workflow changes over time. That's where version history comes. Okay, you will do some updations, but this version history lets you know like first this was the first version of your workflow, then next version, next version. So every workflow like keeps a complete version archive. Okay, with timestamps and change tracking, just like how uh, last updated will be there, how many updates has been done. Okay, it's like easily revert to the previous working version before. Like we thought the update is good, but you no need to remove update like manually. You just need to revert the version so that you will automatically get the older version. Next is the analyze history to see how the workflow is evolved. Next is like a historical analysis. Review how workflows evolved over time to understand design decisions and troubleshoot regressions. These are like we can troubleshoot the already existing things, and we can like control the version of it. Like if you want, you can directly use any of the version, or you can copy the version, like older version, you can send it to another developer. Version history is especially valuable when multiple team members collaborate on workflows or when debugging issues that appeared after like recent modifications. Master these debugging tools with debugging mode, execution retry, manual output editing, and version history at your disposal. So you have everything needed to diagnose and resolve workflows issues efficiently. Practicing using tools together for maximum troubleshooting effectiveness. So debugging mode, execution retry, manual output editing, and version history. So these four are like we discussed already. Okay. So these four tools are like debugging tools. You can diagnose and resolve workflows issues quickly and confidently actually. So you exactly know what you're doing with the clarity you will be debugging the error. Instead of just randomly you are trying to reduce the errors, like it won't be reduced. So you are going to deal with a confident and a clarity by using these four debugging tools. Okay, practice like using these tools like to together, to to get your workflow in an efficient way. Okay, thank you. The next we have a mini project. Okay, automate task reminder system. Okay, I'm planning to do this. In next part, we will discuss like more good project if we got, okay, so that most of the tools or most of the types of nodes and APIs, webhooks, everything can be included. Then we will move to that project in our next part. Okay, thank you.